Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to Pre-Heresy and Codices, where I ramble about one Space Marine Legion per ramble, giving you my thoughts on what codex would best represent that Legion in a 40k army list build, and then a little bit about collecting that force, keeping the Pre-Heresy time frame in mind. So, on the chopping block this time is going to be the Iron Hands Legion. And the Iron Hands Legion, color scheme wise, because I like to talk about color scheme first, is one that I'm just going to say on the whole doesn't have a color change pre to post heresy, but you'd be forgiven if you thought it did based on the artwork that Forge will put into the Horus Heresy book that has them. I say that because when you look at the Iron Hands in that book, you'll see it, and it's book 2, by the way, in case you're curious which book they're in. What you'll see is a force that, when drawn up, has different colors depending upon what you're looking at a little bit in terms of the armor. What you'll look at is something that looks black for the most part, but then you'll come across actual black armor panels, and then you'll see the stuff that kind of you would assume would be black is more like a dark metallic, which is fine. That will look cool, and if you went that route, you wouldn't be wrong. But when you see Forge World's actual painting examples on their website of the models they offer, they're painted in that standard actual black color. So what you could do is either do that metallic black type of color scheme for your veteran stuff, or if you don't do it, that's fine. But I'm here to say that really the color scheme has no real change. This kind of metallic black you're seeing would look cool, but it's not necessary. They probably, my guess is they did it because it looks good. So anyways, yeah, they don't really have a color change pre to post heresy. We don't have, unfortunately, from what I can determine by reading through the book, of course, I don't see anything about their unification era color scheme. My assumption is that it's basically the same. So anyways, with that being said, let's look at a codex that would work for these guys. And really, in my opinion, there's only one codex that's going to work for them, and that's going to be the Space Marine generic codex. That has the chapter tactics inside of it for them. Plus, on the flip side, or as a bonus, and I encourage this, is the Iron Hand supplemental book, Clan Raucan. You have access to that to make it feel more Iron Handsy, which is always useful and helpful. These things are meant to represent chapters and a specific company in the chapter of the Iron Hands, but the codex still works well for the Legion feel, and in a 40k army list build, and the supplemental book will really help complement the Iron Hands feel for your force. So that's my recommendation. Now there are always restrictions because we're talking about a 40k codex to represent a 30k legion. So no Land Raider Crusaders or Redeemers, no Centurion squads, no Flyers. I'd stay away from them. But that's really it. And I say that because I encourage the idea of doing Legion of the Damned as a count stats for these guys. The Legion of the Damned special rules and their ability really fits well with the Iron Hands, liking to augment themselves. So if you build a heavily converted up force that looks really heavily augmented and stands out different from the rest of your force in that regard, where it's easy to tell that they look different, you could do that as your counts as Legion of the Damned to represent the invulnerability save and all this stuff that they're able to do, because the Iron Hands are really all about the flesh is weak. So I think it really fits well with this Legion. So I encourage that concept. Other than that, the floor is yours in terms of codex options. So have fun with it there. So that's collecting them. And when it comes to, well, that's not collecting them. That's the codex. Now when it comes to collecting them, that's what I meant. We have a lot of Forge World options. Of course, we have the generic Forge World stuff. That all works great for any Legion. But the Iron Hands actually have their full Horus Heresy miniature range that we know of out right now. It has everything, including their Primarch, but we don't need their Primarch because we're talking about a 40k army list build, and he really wouldn't represent anything in there. I mean, he could, but it would be kind of a really expensive model to get, and he'd be big, and anyway. So what we're looking at is your basic stuff. We have shoulder pads and Rhino doors and Land Raider doors, which is great. But we also have the Iron Hands Legion Torso Upgrade Set and Iron Hands Legion Head Upgrade Set. These things look great, and they offer that as a squad upgrade set: 10 heads, 10 torsos, and then 10 Iron Hand shoulder pads, for the Legion symbol, which would probably be a really good buy, because this can augment the generic stuff you buy from Forge World if you're going to go that route, and this can help augment any GW bits you have lying around, because remember, no Mark 7 power armor, so no Mark 7 helmets, and stay away from the Imperial Eagle in general on things for your force at this time period, but also specifically for your powered armored Space Marines. So that can help really extend the use of any GW kits you may already have. So those are very cool, they look very nice, they definitely have that Iron Hands Legion feel. And the Iron Hand Legion Gorgon Terminators look very similar to the 40k Terminators, which is by design of their fluff, but you can either run regular Cataphractii and Tartaros Terminators from Forge World's generic stuff, which will look great. If you wanted to go the Gorgon Terminator route, you have a couple of options. You could either give the squad Power Fist and give the Sergeant a Chain Fist bit that you may have lying around, because they can take those as upgrades in the 30k Army List build from Forge World for their actual unit entry. Or you can leave them as is if you really like that look and just tell your opponent, look, these guys are unique looking, nothing else is done like this. Those axes represent Power Fists, and that Thunderhammer is going to represent a Chain Fist. It's not the best, but it works, and if that's your only squad of them, it's going to work. Not everybody likes that idea. I can visualize people shaking their head already, but it's the way to utilize this cool looking kit. And if you want to make a 30k army list from the Forge World Horus Heresy series, you have the squad as is if that's how you want to field them. So, cool kit, check it out if you want to, and you can go that route or give them Power Fists and give the Sergeant a Chain Fist. They have the Iron Hands Iron Father. He looks cool, but do with him what you will. He's as he is, you really can't represent him that way because he doesn't have a servo harness, so unfortunately it'll be a bit more difficult to represent the Master of the Forge with him, although you could probably figure something out with that model. It's a cool looking model. Now, the Iron Hands offer just a straight up Mark III squad, so if you want to get a specific squad that's built, purpose made by Forge World to be the Iron Hands, that's your Mark III squad. So it looks cool, it's very simple, you get it, build it, looks great. Now, the Iron Hands have a Contemptor Dreadnought, and if you want to run that as a regular Dreadnought in a 40k army list, I'd have no problem with it. Now, I'm not talking about Forge World rules. There are Forge World rules for a Contemptor in a 40k build. I'm talking just the Codex and the supplemental book. So in that case, you would have to run it as a generic Dreadnought, which really wouldn't be an issue. You can run it as a Venerable Dreadnought, whatever. I don't think anybody would have a problem with it. They look cool, so why wouldn't you want to get it and use it? Now, there is the Iron Hands Medusan Immortals. These guys look really cool. They got their shields. They're very Iron Handsy. And this is another option for you for your counts as Legion of the Damned. Now, the Legion of the Damned don't come equipped with shields, but you can use these shields in this squad to represent the invulnerability save the Legion of the Damned squads have. So if you just have this in that squad, you can basically say, hey, this is going to be my counts as Legion of the Damned. They clearly look different, they got shields, so they really stand out and you know what it is. And I wouldn't have a problem with that either. And that's a way, again, to utilize a squad offered by Forge World that actually represents something in the Forge World Horus Heresy book for the Legion. And that way, if you end up collecting the books, let's say, and wanting to build a 30k army list build, you have that squad ready to go if you want to use it. Lastly, we have three things that I think are very cool, whether we're talking about a pre-heresy Iron Hands build or a post-heresy Iron Hands build. And that is the Iron Hands icons, the Iron Hands transfer sheet, and the Iron Hands symbols that are etched brass. These things are great to give you Iron Hand symbology basically throughout your force, because you don't get any transfers that are Iron Hand specific from GW stuff. So this is going to work great for that. And it's going to help really spruce up your Pre-Heresy force as well. You can get the generic Mark IV Dreadnought from Forge World, put those Iron Hand icon bits on there, and make a really cool looking Iron Hands Dreadnought that almost looks like it was cast that way. So very cool stuff that I highly recommend. At the very least, definitely considering to pick up from Forge World. Those things are really going to be solid. Now, Forge World, like I said, has got you covered from head to toe, basically. With their generic vehicles and generic kits for the Horus Heresy time period, and all this Iron Hand specific goodness. Now, GW's got your back too. GW has a tactical squad upgrade kit, or upgrade bits essentially, that you can buy for the Iron Hands. And it's going to come with bionic bits, it's going to come with bolter bits with bionic arms attached to it, and it'll be useful for making your force feel more Iron Handsy as well. That, in combination with the stuff from Forge World, will give you a lot of unique looking Iron Hand bionic bits, so it doesn't feel too repetitive throughout your force. And I recommend picking up that upgrade piece from GW for the Iron Hands, because it's definitely going to work for you. Now, remember, no Mark 7 stuff, but all of the really heavy bionic heads that are offered, like the few that are in there, I think can work for you still. So that's really it from GW, though. That's Iron Hand specific. If you wanted GW stuff, you could go with the generic Venerable Dreadnought from GW if you wanted to go that route. But really, there's nothing else super specific for the Iron Hands to help you out miniature-wise. So you're really looking at a bunch of stuff from Forge World and at least one upgrade kit from GW as well. So you got plenty of bits to make your Iron Hands force stand out and look very Pre-Heresy Iron Handsy. So that's really it for the Iron Hands Legion. Lots of stuff to help you out there. They're fully covered, so that's nice. So thanks for sticking through that. The next Legion I'm going to ramble about is going to be the World Eaters Legion, so stay tuned for that one. And until next time, take it easy.